Ladies and gentlemen, 7 years. After 7 years, our capitalist vampire Closure has finally become playable, making her the longest NPC to become playable. And the record will probably only be defeated by Tallulah. Anyway, let's see what Closure can do. Closure is our second 6-star tactician vanguard after Mew Moo, specialized in DP printing and crowd control. Although I feel like she should also be categorized in support. In any case, as most already know, Tactician is a 2-in-1 vanguard, the only ranged vanguard in the game, and can call up a reinforcement, or summon, to their attack range. This summon is usually placed on the ground to act as a blocker. And if the Tactician hits enemies blocked by the summon, their damage will get multiplied. Their summon costs 0 DP to deploy. Automatically revive upon defeat, but you can't reposition them. However, I think the biggest drawbacks this archetype has is their expensive cost. And that's especially painful for the 6-star rarity. Mew Moo and Closure cost 15 DP to be deployed, which is expensive for a vanguard. Well, Closure actually has a second talent to ease her high DP cost, which we will talk soon. First, let's see her talent 1. Much like other Tactician, her talent 1 determines how her summon works. Her summon unit is called Commanding Center. Closure summon is not as complex as Mew Moo, but it is still pretty interesting. First, compared to other Tactician summon units, her summon is noticeably tankier. But for better or worse, the summon will never attack. It's bad because she lost another source of damage. And it is even more advisable you don't deploy the summon at the edge like this. Because now Closure and the summon can't attack the enemy. However, a blocker that doesn't attack has been proved to be useful in some scenarios. For example, blocking an inactive enemy like the Seaborn, that will go crazy and unleash nervous damage if attacked. Also, her summon can be deployed on range tiles. And instead of attack range, her summon has effect range. Basically, Closure will provide different kinds of effects to her drones, based on what skill she uses. And any operators inside this effect range will be considered as Closure summoned unit. Meaning, those operators will also get the same effect as Closure summons. And Closure herself benefits from the effect of her summon unit. This is why I said Closure also feels like a support operator. Now let's see her second talent. When she's in the squad, all operators' DP cost will be reduced. She's not exactly reducing the number, but more or less allows you to borrow DP. Let's say you only have 12 DP, you can actually deploy Closure who has 15 deploy cost. And this effect should be indicated by that cost icon on the operators. This borrowing DP cost ability also leads to an interesting phenomenon, where the DP cost can actually go below 0. Overall, this is an awesome talent for a vanguard, because she practically reduces all operators' costs. And like I said before, this talent eases up her big cost. Normally you need 15 DP to deploy Closure, which is expensive for a vanguard. But once you get her to Elite 2, she basically only needs 12, or even less if you got the potential upgrade or module. Other than that, this talent also gives all Rhodes Island operators an attack buff. The buff is extremely small, but I guess what makes this and the borrowing DP good, is that this talent will simply be active if Closure is in the squad. You don't need to deploy her to the field, making her another top tier vanguard to bring, even when you aren't going to use her. Moving on, let's talk about her skills. Her skill 1 will grant 1 shield to her summon, and to all units inside the summon effect range, to protect them against 1 instance of any kind of damage. Sadly, this shield cannot stack. Also, this skill will of course generate DP. And will generate even more DP on each skill use. A shield can be a very useful defense mechanism, especially against a slow but hard hitting enemy. But I personally find the shield from this skill is rather awkward. mainly due to how long it takes to generate a new shield. At M3 she only needs 8 seconds to activate this skill and gives shield. But that's without considering the SP lockdown she gets. So if we consider that, it's about 16 seconds per one shield. And if you need DP to deploy operators, her skill 2 might be better to use. Now her skill 2. She immediately and then gradually gains DP. She will give defense buff and increase the block count of her summon. Same case for other units inside the summon range. Closure herself will get attack buff, hit multiple enemies, and can attack enemies blocked by the summon, or other units within. A pretty neat buff, but I think the main highlight is this one ability. Anyone deployed inside the summon range will refund 40% of DP. As you see here, if I deployed Astini, she would have depleted all of my DP bank. But because she is deployed inside the summon range, we got some DP refund to quickly deploy another unit. Needless to say, this DP refund ability is extremely useful. Lastly, her skill 3. She will gradually generate DP over the skill duration. And she will unleash her drones to do attacks similar to Mecha Cordcaster, that lock onto an enemy, but with physical damage. Apparently instead of slow, the attack from her drones apply some new effect. I don't speak Chinese but the machine translation translated into slow. For now we'll follow what the Arknights wiki call it. This new effect shall be known as dull. And this dull effect can reduce enemy movement, attack speed, casting speed as I guess the animation speed of enemy special abilities, and the recovery speed of abnormal or perhaps negative status. Anyway, the most noticeable one is of course the movement and attack speed reduction, which can be a very useful form of crowd control. By the way, this lock-on attack will be done to any enemies inside her summon. Of course that also means other operators' range, if they are inside the summon area. So you can use other operators as a form of range extension. And just to be clear, I tested if this range extension could work to Skull to summon, which is regarded as the extension of her range. But sadly it doesn't. I also tested if it works with the Ave musical girls, but again Closure's drone doesn't lock onto the enemy. Overall it's a good crowd control and damage skill, especially for a Vanguard. Although I personally prefer her skill 2, since the DP refunds helps more with what a Vanguard is supposed to do. And that is helping to deploy other units quicker. So that is Closure. What do you think? I think she's a strong Vanguard. Not strong as in dealing damage, but strong in her main job as a Vanguard. She can practically reduce all operator cost by simply being in the squad. Can make operators refund their DP cost. And offer other usefulness to other operators. A very interesting Vanguard to get. Not to mention she has an important role in the story, and her debut is alongside Calci Alta, another very solid unit. That should be all. Adios.